Even the most beautiful garden can contain unseen menace and danger. Imagine you're a Fortune 500 executive going for a stroll among the beautiful topiaries at your estate garden. Your goal is to stretch your legs, get some fresh air, and clear your mind before meeting with your company's board of directors about an upcoming hostile takeover of another business. In fact, you left your cell phone at home so you wouldn't be disturbed during your walk on this beautiful spring day. But for property owner Archibald Diventura, the peaceful morning's ambiance was suddenly shattered. His chief of gardening, Clyde Sutherlin, had gone into a full panic, racing his landscaping maintenance utility vehicle toward the northeastern quadrant of the Topiary Gardens, where he knew Archibald was walking that morning. Clyde had just discovered the unresponsive body of Archibald's wife Elizabeth Diventura near one of her favorite elephant topiaries. The landscaper hadn't yet called 911 because he also lacked a cell phone, since his was being charged back in the utility shed. That's why he drove straight to Archibald's location in the topiary garden, so they could contact emergency services. Archibald jumped into the maintenance vehicle. They drove to the utility shed to get the gardener's phone to summon an ambulance. The paramedics felt a strange mixture of dread, wonder, and delight as they walked past the astonishing topiaries on their way to the victim. Unlike messy murder scenes, topiary gardens are the essence of exquisite artistic control. People crave the satisfaction that comes from changing the shapes and sizes of living plants, showing utter control over nature, and by proxy over death itself. Abstract forms and curvilinear designs, such as spiral shapes, are popular in topiary gardens. For many topiary garden owners, imposing your will on shrubbery can make up for shortcomings in your job or personal life. Some folks prefer their vegetation carved into pyramids, while the more fastidious topiary aficionados instruct their landscaping professionals to produce hedges shaped like cubes. Archibald Diventura and other extremely wealthy people, such as American industrialists, members of European royal families, and decadent international rock stars, keep expert gardeners on retainer to design and create new fantastic and whimsical topiaries for their estates. And public gardens rely on topiaries to entertain citizens as they commune with nature. A well-crafted collection of city topiaries can boost admissions, increasing an appreciation for botany amongst members of the local community. But at Archibald Diventura's garden estate, the paramedics were only focused on the grim discovery the landscaper had found by the topiaries. At the hospital, a doctor pronounced Elizabeth dead. The coroner reported she had been deceased for about 3 hours before her discovery. Initially, they thought she had slipped and hit her head on a decorative, jagged rock. But authorities found that her death was the result of blunt force trauma from someone smashing that jagged rock against her skull. The mystery of how her body wound up amongst the whimsical topiaries thickened. A police officer interviewed Archibald, who told the investigator that Elizabeth had said she was going to a yoga class and then brunch with her friend. He was preoccupied with the details of that morning's corporate board meeting and had only spoken to his wife for a few seconds when she told him about her morning plans. Then, at 10:20 that night, the police officer received a call from a man using a burner phone who refused to identify himself, speaking with a voice-changing app. He told the officer that the topiary garden itself contains clues to the death of Elizabeth Diventura. The caller suggested that Archibald was hiding money from his wife in preparation for a divorce, burying several pounds of gold bars underneath topiaries. Then the mysterious caller explained that Archibald had ordered the gardening company to sculpt a series of 8 new topiaries in a row, planted along one of Elizabeth's favorite pathways in the estate. He told the officer to go back to the garden in the morning and make a list of the names of the first 8 topiaries that appear along the estate's southern pathway. The next day, the police officer discovered that when you take the first letter of each topiary, you get E from elephant, A from alligator, S from spiral, T from turtle, the G from giraffe, A from arch, T from teapot, and E from Easter Island head statue. That spells out the words East Gate. After getting a search warrant from a judge, the police used hand shovels to break the ground below the topiaries located at the garden's east gate. They discovered nothing, but the detectives decided to dig further. They hired an excavator, normally used for projects such as digging a huge pit for a swimming pool, to widen the scope of their investigation. But after the cops removed tons of earth, they found out that the East Gate clue was designed to send them on a wild goose chase, delaying them figuring out the identity of the murderer. Further investigation revealed that it was the chief of gardening, Clyde Sutherlin, who killed Archibald Diventura. He confessed to committing this heinous crime because he was being driven insane by Elizabeth's incessant nitpicking and ongoing demands to make small adjustments to the topiaries. The plants are too small. Oh, now they are too big. Or the cubicle shape isn't perfectly square on each side, despite the fact that the plants are growing constantly. The gardener developed a stomach ulcer from the topiary-induced stress, but he couldn't quit because he had an autistic child to support, who required expensive health services and therapy sessions. After enduring one final demand from the woman he dubbed Miss Control Freak to trim the edges of some perfectly fine topiary, Clyde Sutherlin finally snapped and smashed Elizabeth in the head with the jagged rock the police had found near her body. It's ironic that he murdered the woman behind all the painstaking changes that made each topiary so beautiful, because the gardener's autistic child was only at his happiest when wandering around the garden with his father. If you enjoyed this report, consider sharing it with like-minded friends and tapping the like button so YouTube will share it with more people. Subscribe to Nice Planet to make sure you see each new video. Thanks for watching.